Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we're having a debate. Chris versus Phil. We're doing vintage versus modern. Images mattering versus images not mattering. So, Phil, Chris, nice to see you guys. Very first question is going to be, what is better, vintage versus modern? Phil, you're going to take the side of vintage. And Chris, you're going to take the side of modern. So with that being said, Chris, tell me why modern is better than vintage.
Well, there's just so many reasons. I personally enjoy modern over vintage because I really like the connection of watching the players I collect as they are playing. So it's just fun for me. Like Acuna does something incredible and I want a card of him doing that thing. And I like to just feel sort of connected to the game as I am currently watching it. So that would be my first pro modern argument.
Okay, Phil, what's your opening argument?
One rookie card, one meaningful or most meaningful card for all players. It's clear. It's based on the fundamental rules of the hobby. The rookie card's the most important card. It's a very clear hierarchy because we know the best card is the first one. The second best card is probably the second one. And there's not all this manufactured scarcity that the Fanatics, Topps, Fleer, Score, Bowman are pushing our way to try to trick us into thinking, hey, these have value too, when it's really the same card with a different color.
I mean, vintage is just the same card in a different grade. And some of these guys, by the way, don't just have one rookie. Nolan Ryan has there's like a Milton Bradley, and I think is it Venezuelan? There's yeah, I think so. Those are cool. I mean, I'm just pulling threads on stuff like that. I totally get that. It's easier, right? Like with Mickey Mantle, you know what card to get. Like there is the card. With Willie Mays, I guess a little bit tricky, the 51 Bowman or the 52 Topps. But yeah, it makes it a lot easier. And that is definitely the one thing where modern does struggle, where these players have so many cards that it's hard to identify, exactly which cards to go for. So I do understand. I get that logic there, Phil. That does make sense. But I also just feel like you talked about like manufactured scarcity. I feel like there is like faux scarcity in vintage, because if you go to the National, you go to the West Coast Card Show, dozens and dozens of dealers have the exact same tables of the exact same cards, and the stacks of vintage stuff in card savers that's not graded, not gradable. I mean, sometimes they're like 6-8 inches high, and it's just I don't think those cards are particularly rare. I know that like the Mantle's rare in a 10 and a 9 and an 8. I get that, but none of us can afford those cards anyway. Possibly Phil, but I don't know. I don't think those cards are as rare, and I don't think it's as fun when you're just chasing. You don't have as many cards to chase. Like if I want a nice Hank Aaron, I want the 54 or maybe the 54 with an on-card auto. Or for me, the card I was looking at is that 58 that has Mantle and Aaron on it. That one's really cool. But after that, like what's the chase? I mean, just try to eke another half grade out of my SGC or PSA slab. I don't know. It's just like the fun is short-lived. It's like, there's one cool card. Can I get it? Probably not. Or maybe I get it in a really low grade. They're everywhere, and then it's done. Whereas like with modern, like there's different things to chase, different images on cards, which is I'm a little bit partial to, as it were. But yeah, and plus they don't really have pack pulled autos back then. I know they have in-person autos, but those aren't really the same thing. Some of them are very cool, but it's just a little bit different. And honestly, shiny stuff is more fun. I'm a child.
I think one of the nice things about vintage is that, yes, there are fewer cards to collect, and you alluded to this, there's different grades. There are different eye appeals. Not every vintage card is created the same, right? If you have a PSA 4 of, say, a 55 Topps Jackie Robinson, maybe you can turn that into a nicer eye appeal version, consolidate over time. So there are ways to advance your collection and keep it interesting. You've got the PSA registry, and you can do all that sort of stuff too. Another reason why I like it, well, first of all, it is the foundation of the modern sports card hobby today. It's the strongest market for vintage across all sports, right? It's probably the single reason why, as a catch-all, people still call sports cards baseball cards. That's why when Scott looks at the Google Analytics and he puts in baseball cards, he's like, look, it's really good. It's like, yeah, but baseball cards, like some people probably call Pokemon cards baseball cards. It's just like, so embedded, right? On top of that, you've got cards that are mostly secure Some might fall in value, but there's a nice, consistent, slow, steady, keywords probably sustainable increase in growth of these cards in value in time. So I think you can sleep a little bit better knowing that these cards aren't going to drop to zero tomorrow or the next year or 5 years from now. Sure, not all cards will have the same amount of, they won't be as coveted 30, 40 years from now if you're not going after Hall of Famers or star players or maybe shitty examples of cards. And there is a risk of the cards being altered and trimmed, which might be a reason to stay away from vintage, but I'm not trying to give you arguments here. But I do like how I don't have to worry about 99.9% of what I collect going to zero, which is going to happen with the modern cards that we own and don't own, the ones on eBay especially.
I generally agree. I think your percentage is a little bit high. I think it's like 96% of modern cards. I don't think it's 99.9. That feels too high. But I do wonder, like when we get in, we talk about vintage stuff, as time goes by, we know names like Ruth and Mantle and Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, like those cards will always, those names are going to echo forever. We know who those guys are. But it's that next tier down 20 years from now, which you sort of alluded to as well. Who's going to remember those guys in 2050? I don't know. I mean, I know we could say the same thing about ultra modern guys and modern guys, but that's further down the road at least. I wonder, like, outside of Yankee fans, someone like Yogi Berra, are we going to remember him? Maybe that's a bad example. Like, look at someone like Whitey Ford or Eddie Matthews, like Ernie Banks, a guy with no postseason, no World Series, like outside of Chicago, outside of their main hub cities. Are those guys going to be remembered in baseball circles, 20, 30 years from now? And I know that for a lot of us, we can't imagine what our collections will look like 20 years from now. It's probably something we should think about more. An exit strategy is a phrase that I've heard someone use. But yeah, I wonder how many of those old guys or those vintage players will maintain collectability and maintain their fame as the current like senior generation of the hobby, retires from it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see maybe Ernie Banks won't be as sought after in 50 years, but another way to look at this would be like, okay, so Jacob Mizorowski, he probably has some sort of a green-yellow lava lamp card. Who's going to care about that card in 50 years? And I don't think I think 96% is way too low with regards to like modern cards becoming worth zero. I think already 99.9% of modern cards are worth zero. I think in the future, it's 99.999% will be worth zero, whether that's in 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. We just don't know which cards those will be and which players those will be. But I think we have a pretty good idea based on, some players we can put in those buckets.
Yeah, I think so. And I would just to tack on to that, I think that Mizorowski yellow lava lamp card, it should be worth zero now. We shouldn't have to wait. That should already be worth zero. No one should be buying that card right now. But yeah, I mean, I understand the draw. And I think the cheapest argument for vintage is that, well, those guys can't get into trouble like the modern guys currently still can. So I understand that aspect of it too. But I just feel like, and maybe Ohtani is just, he's probably the guy. Ohtani and I was going to say Acuna, but every time I watch, a month of Acuna games, I end up thinking maybe I should go back to vintage. But I feel like Ohtani is just, he's that guy that's going to keep this whole generation of cards alive and well, or at least his version of them, his copies of them. I would say you mentioned also that vintage can be, it can be trimmed, it can be altered, and that is like kind of a scary space. And when you see all those raw copies of these big cards sitting at shows, I think those are all just red flagged, right? Like at this point, if you have a Hank Aaron rookie or like a, something like T206 or some 52 Topps card that isn't slabbed somewhere, you have to just assume there's a reason for that. I would say the same thing about a 2018 black Ohtani, though. If that's sitting there raw, there's probably a reason for that too. I don't know. I do think there's a safety in vintage, which I understand, but there's less excitement. And I need the excitement to get me focused and interested.
Yeah, so you brought up trimming and alterations and stuff. I would say that the modern card market is not it's not free from scandals. I just bought, or actually a friend of mine named Phil just bought a $3,000 Corey Seager card. And not saying this is a scandal, but He later learned a day after purchasing it that the patch used is not only not from a game, because it's from the All-Star game, but probably not even really worn in the All-Star games. So it's not event used either. We've got autographs. We have even though it mainly refers to memorabilia, the Brett Lemieux scandal, right? So autographs are at risk. We've heard stories, right, about players not actually signing or recognizing their own autographs. There's shady stuff around that too. So at least with vintage, it's the simplicity of it. Sure, you still have to worry about grading companies and inconsistency. There's going to be mistakes, and there's going to be stuff that passes through and gets authenticated that is fake. But at the end of the day, at least you only have to worry about that one variable. Is the card real or not? And then I guess a second variable. What is the greater view of that card? Because that could really significantly influence its value, just like it does with modern cards too. And there's a ton of inconsistency there as well with grading.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question for you. Out of the top 20 highest baseball card sales all time, this is baseball only, not including basketball, not including Pokemon. How many of those were produced after the year 2000? Maybe even after the year 1970. I can go even further. Let's keep going.
Less than 5, maybe 3. The Trout Super went for 4. Shirley and Otani has cracked some crazy number. Maybe that's it. Maybe just. I don't know. I'll say 4.
There's been Are we counting football and basketball?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, something like that. Sounds about right.
So I may have counted wrong. Out of the top 40, only 2 are in the top 40 baseball card sales all time. They're both Mike Trouts. One's a red refractor that went for $1 million, and then the super refractor that went for $4 million. So, Chris, what is your counterpoint to that? That 38 of the top 40 are vintage, showing that those really are the better cards.
I mean, those 38 are definitely the better cards, but those are gone. Like, if the next cards that might get up there are probably Otani cards that are out there now, probably from 2018, hopefully 2020. But yeah, I mean, I think that the window on those is basically closed. Like, yeah, we know. I probably could guess all the names of those players, and everyone already knows those cards. I don't think there's really any. Those are the safest guys. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Mickey Mantle, Honus Wagner, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, those guys aren't safe investments. They definitely are. Those names are going to be names that we know forever. It's the other guys and the ones that aren't slabbed, the ones that aren't selling for the top 40 or whatever those prices are. Those are the ones that concern me a little bit more.
So Phil brought up a good point. This question's towards you, and I'll grill Phil a little bit too. With modern, do you think the parallels are going to restrict growth long term because there's just so many different options, more sets, more parallels? What is your counterpoint to say that won't impact the collectability long term?
I mean, my guess would be that just very few of those parallels matter at all. Like, the golds will be great, maybe some blues, in the case of Otani especially. But I think outside of that, like, no one's going to give a shit about a purple auto 20 years from now. It's just not going to matter. And all these rays, lavas, waves, what all that garbage is, no one's going to care about those. They shouldn't care about them 2 years from now, more or less 20 years from now. But I do think that stuff like the golds and the supers, those are all going to golds, reds, orange, blues, maybe. Those are all going to maintain some level of value, I would think. But outside of that, I mean, we've been urging people to ignore those for years, and I'm not going to stop now.
Okay. Phil, anything you want to challenge there?
Especially with Bowman Chrome, I mean, there has been somewhat of a standardized multiplier framework that a lot of people leverage that has worked pretty well and hasn't evolved too much over the last 5-6 years for the colors that have kept that consistent numbering schema. So I don't know. I couldn't foresee a scenario where 10 years from now, the purple isn't worth at least 1.8x the base, or the green isn't worth a little bit more than the purple, and the green is worth a little bit less than the blue. Yes, the blue is more of a original color, and it's less rare than the green, and it's worth more than the green, and I think it'll continue to be worth more than the green over time. But unfortunately, I think all these other colors and the shimmers, the waves, and now we've got reptilian versions, and now we have geometric versions. We thought like the shimmers and the waves were the ones that you didn't want. No. You don't want the reptilian and the stuff underneath that. I just I find it hard to believe that those cards won't matter. If it's a Bowman Chrome first auto of a desirable player, regardless of however it's packaged, whatever color it is, animal it is, I think it's going to have some value. And I think that's going to put downward pressure on all the other cards because, again, I think it's all relative. So I think you're diluting all of the cards all at once. And this, I guess, is part of my debate, but I kind of believe this too. My debate sort of philosophy as the role I'm playing here, but I do kind of believe that.
Okay, Phil, so here's a question for you. What is going to stop vintage from fading to obscurity as generations proceed? Let's say 40 years from now, right? What year will that be? 2065? Why will that generation care about the vintage that was back in the 1950s and 60s when to them vintage is going to be right now, the modern? Like this generation who watched Ohtani will be being romantic about Ohtani in that time frame. What's going to stop that from being the case?
Well, I might not answer it the way you want me to, but I look back at cards like the 1980 Topps Ricky Henderson. Beautiful card. Not just the imagery, Chris, but the whole card, the whole package. Beautiful card. And PSA 9's really sought after. PSA 10's impossible to find, right? That card, if you see that at a card show, even if there are like 5 of them at the National, you see that and you recognize that automatically as being an iconic card, a card that matters. So for me, when I'm constantly moving in and out of baseball cards that I liked at the time when I bought them, but I'm holding a first edition Charizard Pokemon card because it's clearly the top in its class. It's the first American one. It's the one that matters most. There's a clear hierarchy. It's obviously iconic. That's the one to have. Even if it's a Bowman Chrome auto of Ohtani, that's like green or blue, I could never tell myself that I'm going to keep this forever because this is such an important card for me. Given that there's all these extra colors, like how do I know that I won't try to switch this for something else? Even maybe a lower numbered one with a pitching pose. Like there's just not enough that emotionally ties me to a card that just has so many different variations. I just can't. The thesis, it doesn't sink in enough where I'm like, okay, that's a casket card. I've got the yellow Bowman Chrome auto of Anthony Volpe. This is the one. And substitute him for a better player, one that doesn't suck.
Oh, I don't know. If you spend that kind of money on an Anthony Volpe card, that you might be in a casket. That might work out really well, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So substitute that for like a gold Bowman Chrome auto of Goldschmidt. I'm sure Scott's gone through this exercise. He's done pretty well holding a lot of his gold Bowman Chrome autos. The blues, not so much. Even the golds he switched out of. Some of the reds that he thought he'd own forever, he's moved off of. And it's not just Scott, the perennial flipper, that's doing this. It's everybody. I think it's everybody.
I'm just more transparent with my moves. That's my problem. All right. Anything you want to say, Chris? Any final thoughts on why modern is better? Before we jump into the next debate.
I just want to echo Phil and say I also really love that 80 Topps Ricky Henderson card. That is it's just a phenomenal card. Yeah. Have you ever seen a PSA 10 in person?
Have you?
No. The best condition I've seen is a 9.
What did the last Ricky Henderson PSA 10 go for?
I don't know.
Let's look. All this sorted by most expensive. $180,000 back in 2024. Wow. Sheesh. It's an expensive little card.
It's probably ticked up.
It's probably what?
It's probably ticked up in value, I would think.
I thought you said like altered or trimmed or something.
Oh, no.
Probably is both. Who knows?
Okay. All right, should we go on to topic
Next
2?
topic.
Yep.
Next topic is going to be imagery. So Phil's going to debate why images don't matter. And Chris, your resident image freak who loves images, is going to debate why they do matter.
I just want, before we start, like, when you say matter and don't matter, like, do you say like for value for our collections? Like,
probably, I think Phil's approaching it from a value perspective. I think you can do both. You can talk about for collections versus value versus PC versus. I think that's part of the idea around the imagery versus the concept of this card is the first or this card is the Bowman Chrome autographs. Image doesn't matter. That type of concept.
all right. Well, yeah, Phil can go first.
All right, Phil. Why do images not matter in baseball cards?
All right. So when I look at a card and evaluate whether or not it's a good fit for me, I look at most important thing is what player is it, right? Next most important thing is probably either the card brand or the year. So is it the player's rookie year, first prospect card, or whatever? So year and card brand would be 2 and 3 in any order. 4 is going to be, geez, I can't even read my own writing. 4 is going to be potentially the grade of the card. 5 is going to be the design of the card, which the image is a part of. But I'm talking about like the whole full, just like we talked about the Ricky Henderson. It's not just the image. Like, so the 2001 Bowman Chrome Auto rookie of Albert Pujols. In my mind, I can't really see, and this is because of my interest in the way my brain works. So this isn't like even right or wrong. This is just like, I can't even, like, if I had to draw the Bowman Chrome Auto card of Pujols, I'd probably do a pretty good job with the borders. The 2 vertical blue strips on the left and the right. And then I'd get like his name in all caps, like centered on the bottom. And I do a decent job with his position above that and like the black plate sort of on the bottom of that card. But then I'd completely butcher the imagery because I sort of overlook it. I think it matters a little. I think it matters a lot for certain cards. Image variations, clearly, that's like one of the main draws. The card's not a rookie. The card wouldn't be important if it wasn't for that image, except for rarity. And in many cases, it can still be a rookie. I'm thinking about like the Gatorade Bath Soto. Still a cool image, right? But for me, unless it's like, you know, a bottom 5% image, I'm going to be okay with it. I'm going to be okay with it. And if it's a top 5% image, I don't think it's really going to draw me that much more to it if the card already meets the other kind of criteria that I talked about.
I like the trying to visualize the card, Phil. Here's what that card looks like. This
It's
is
a follow through, right? Yeah.
But it is hard to kind of see it for some reason. I don't know why I was viewing him as a lefty the way that I was thinking in my mind. But either way, I see what you're saying, Phil. It's interesting. Okay, Chris, why do images matter?
Okay, real quick. I can just say that Phil, for Phil specifically, images do matter to you. And you bought a Shohei Ohtani Dynasty card. And you bought that at a perfect time and you went all in on it. And one of the reasons you did is because I think it's the only Ohtani Dynasty that has him hitting. And you love the long-term value of that. There's 2 of them that have show him hitting, Scott, but most of them he's like holding a ball, pitching, or standing there. So you knew even if you didn't admit it to yourself, you knew at the time that card was special because the shot, I think he's like following through. No, he's like loading up, I think. And it's an absolutely phenomenal card. Like, I hadn't even seen it. When you showed that to me, I feel like I was like, oh my God, that's the best looking Ohtani card I've ever seen. Yeah. Phil bought the middle of the bottom there, which is, it is. Of all those images, that's by far the best one. And that's definitely what drew you to that card. Like, you didn't want the pitching one or that weird shot on the bottom right of him running. I think he's like going to cover first, maybe. And the top ones aren't great, but that bottom one is spectacular. And I think it's especially spectacular because of the image on the card. And even if you wouldn't admit it, subconsciously you knew.
Yeah, I guess I can't say much to that. I just got schooled.
I think you won based off of that. Phil just not even responding.
I did not expect that. Okay, but other than that card,
fair enough.
That's your thing. You can say based aside from like very random specific examples. Your theory,
1933 Gowdy Ruth. There's a similar thing going on. I don't think he's really swinging a bat, but he's like standing, sort of a swinging pose, maybe. Well, some of the other poses you might be holding a bat, but it's like more of like a portrait with just like his face, not the whole body. But like that there sort of is a precedent set up for just Ohtani cards himself. Mm-hmm. People really like the hitting pose cards. That's why the Topps Update 2018 rookie debut, what is that, like the US 285 that sells for just about the same as the base rookie card from Topps Update, the US 1 card.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. What a huge miss by Topps to not put that debut image on the update card. But I come up with tons of examples where like Generally speaking, I think that there is some truth to what you're saying, Phil. Like the first Bowman Chrome, like the first Bowman Chrome auto that gets released, that's just probably going to be the card, even if the picture stinks. Like Bobby Witt has some dumb shot of him, like it looks like he's throwing a ball to second base. It's a very lame image, but that's the card. Would it be worth more if he was batting or sliding or doing something cool on it? Maybe, but probably not. Honestly, the demand is going to be there for that card. But yeah, the specific like the image variations, the SPs, like you had mentioned, that does make a really big difference. And I just wanted to show one example. I could sit here and do this all day, but no one wants to watch that. But here, this is just right here. If you can read that, Shohei Ohtani has 2 gold mirrors this year. The one on the top is at a Series 1. He is standing in front of an airbrushed podium, and nobody wants that card. It's rare, but no one cares. It sold, last sale was $250. In Series 2, he's got that card of him holding the World Series trophy, which I think is right here. And this card, every Shohei Ohtani is trying to get a copy of this. A PSA 8 sold for $1,600, which is, I'm trying to do the math off the top of my head, between 4 and 5 times what the Series 1 podium card goes for. So when it comes to image variations, the image absolutely positively matters a lot. I like to think a good portion of it comes from Yamamoto just going to town on that Budweiser in the background there. It's just, you don't get beer on baseball cards very often. It's kind of a cool little niche thing. But I will say there are plenty of collectors, Phil, that don't care at all. They're just like, give me the flagship rookie, give me the Topps Chrome auto and the first Bowman Chrome. Don't care what he's doing on those cards. But I don't know. As someone who enjoys photography, and I'm a big movie guy, I think how things look, the images on them, hopefully it'll start to get more important.
Yeah, I think the right approach is somewhere in the middle. And even with card design, being too fixated with that, it matters a lot, but it's not the most important thing. So Lionel Messi, our viewers must know who he is, because I think, not to go down a tangent, but the jersey that I see the most kids in this country wearing the most, and maybe it's because of it's like affordable and like easy to wear, and it's like good for the weather around here, is Messi. I see way more kids between the ages of 5 to 12 wearing Messi jerseys than any athlete in any sport, which is kind of crazy to me because, it's America. Who cares about soccer here? Even though Messi plays in Miami now. But anyways, so Messi has this Mega Cracks card from 2004. Pretty stupid looking card, right? But that card just like, I don't know, like 4x'd in all grades over the last 2 or 3 years. And this is like after the World Cup, basically, or, after the World Cup buzz is where this card really blew up. So there's more important criteria to a card. For that, it's because it's like people see it as Messi's like true rookie card now. And I think at the time, maybe they were a little bit confused about what that hierarchy was. This was the kind of the consensus choice at the time, but it wasn't like unanimous. It wasn't like this is definitely the top card in the hierarchy. And it's gone crazy, as you see with that chart in the background. So I think going back to images specifically, I think there are certain cases where imagery proves that it's something that is a differentiator. I'm talking about non-short prints here, non-image variations. Mm-hmm. So 2000 Bowman, Miguel Cabrera, wrong guy on the card, right? Right. And that card sells for less. It's at a discount because it's the wrong player, even though it should be like his first Bowman card, rookie card, right? And then you've got other situations where like 1992 Bowman. So Mariano Rivera, he's in like his street clothes, yes. Really ugly looking card. Yeah, 92 Bowman Rivera, like that card still sells for a lot because it's his rookie. But then the 93 Bowman Rivera also has a lot of value because it's like the first Bowman card that's in the Yankees jersey. So I remember when I had those at the time, like, why does this sell for so much as a second year card? It's because like people prefer this image. So I think there are definitely outliers. You can't just say like imagery never matters for like the non-image variation types. It certainly matters. There's definitely cases to point out there.
Yeah. That 92 Bowman set, we could talk about that for a whole video. There's some like Chipper Jones with his like cargo shorts and his button-down shirt. There's amazing shots in there. And that's like a little time capsule for the 1990s. Yeah, it's a very popular. It's a very popular set
Does
for.
Pedro have one too?
But I think he's actually on the field. Yeah,
I
Pedro's on the field. But Cliff Floyd is slam dunking a baseball. That one's pretty good.
That is a good one.
Yeah, it's just I feel like those were like the. I feel like those were an attempt at first Bowman Chromes, but then Topps was like, you know what? Let's just start airbrushing the jerseys on. I think people are gonna like those a lot more.
Okay, so here's some questions. I have questions for you, Chris. If imagery matters so much, why do Stadium Club cards, rookie cards, not go for as much as flagship?
I think there are instances where they do. I believe the Bo Bichette with the CN
I'd say
Tower.
98% of the time. Why?
Oh, cool. Because Topps is a bigger set. There's people that won't even collect Stadium Club. It is, as much as I love it, it's a second tier set. It's probably the best way to describe it. Phil might even say it's third tier, but it's just not, it's not a Bowman Chrome. It's not a flagship. So those two are like, they're up here on their own. Everything else is underneath. So unfortunately, even though they look great, it takes an amazing image like that Bo Bichette card for any of those cards to approach, flagship. Yeah, it's an awesome card, and Topps even discounts their own product because when they used a very similar shot for his Golden Mirror this year, and they said this is like the coolest Bo Bichette card you'll ever see in all their social media, forgetting that they basically already used the exact image 5 years ago on his Stadium Club card.
Here's the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
it is a cool photo.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, from an investment perspective, the debate's over. All right,
Okay.
Now you can say your true thoughts. So, for those that don't know that watch this whole video, Phil does not feel this way a lot of the time, but it's one of those situations where we were debating it. But do we all agree from an investment perspective, typically don't get too caught up on imagery unless it's a very specific example? Bowman Chromes is an example. Don't worry about it, right? Pretty straightforward. Juan Soto's image sucks. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. Flagship images, Aaron Judge has the crotch in the corner, but it's not a big deal. Most people don't.
It is. See that. I'm glad you mentioned that. It is a big deal because his Bowman Chrome rookie autos now outsell his Topps Chrome rookie autos.
Is that a consequence of it being a fielding image versus a hitting image?
I think so. The Bowman Chromes look incredible. They're borderless. The colors are great, and he's just up at bat. It's a very classic, great-looking card. That stupid Topps card of him jumping up, making a catch, that's terrible. I don't know. I'll never understand that choice. But I think collectors have moved on. They've moved to that Bowman Chrome rookie auto.
I think Bowman Chrome in general, rookie autograph should be more than Topps Chrome across all players. But that's just me.
That might be one of those 5% examples with Judge.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
There are certain, and you're probably alluding to this, Scott. Like it's not against what you were about to say there, but with certain cards, the jury's still out. Like Soto has a lot of valuable cards, interesting cards with interesting poses. He's got the shimmy pose. We did the whole Soto draft, the bat drop card. So some of these are image variations and such. But like, how are those going to rank in the long term versus some of his stuff that's priced similarly today? I don't know. And like, which ones are going to stand out versus other ones? Because he has a few meaningful cards with meaningful poses. Gatorade bat's another cool one.
Yeah.
So
that's a great question, Phil. I would love to. We should keep it maybe in like 2 or 3 years. I'm very curious if that Stadium Club Chrome Shuffle Auto from 2020, how that will age versus because everyone recognizes that immediately. That's him in the World Series, shuffling all over the Astros. I think we figured out it was a Greinke at bat. Versus that the first Bowman Chrome auto where he looks like he's 15 years old wearing his dad's like baseball helmet. I'm very curious. Obviously, that one came first. That one's always probably going to win. But I'm just wondering over the years as he continues his, historical run here, if they're going to move up in proportion with each other or if one will outpace the other.
Here's an example.
And how many more moments is he going to have to cannibalize those first moments?
That's true.
Like the bat drop, so that was what, 2019. That seems like, I feel like I could remember that moment like it was 2 years from 2 years ago. But I'm also a Soto fan, and I watched most of those games in that series. How am I going to feel 10 years from now, and how are other collectors going to feel about that, given what the moments he could have with the Mets, who are they going to make the playoffs?
The Reds are ahead of them right now. They're tied.
Right now. They're out of the playoffs. Yeah.
I'm going to the Paul Skeens start tomorrow. Pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Well, on Wednesday. It's Monday right now. Room for the Reds. But I just showed an example of a Topps Chrome Derek Jeter. This, like in the early Topps Chrome cards, this is by far the one I want because it's a really cool image. The design's great horizontal shot.
Mm-hmm.
But like if we go back and look at 2004, they're still good. They just like it's still a cool card, but that's not as cool. Do you guys agree?
100%. Yeah, and this is true in basketball too. Like that LeBron James, that horizontal LeBron James, where he's like throwing the chalk up.
Yeah,
like that has a huge premium on it, and so does the Kobe shot with LeBron James guarding him.
Yeah, here's the LeBron you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't even collect basketball, but outside of his like rookies, that's got to be one of his most popular cards, right? I mean, that just looks incredible.
I own that one at one point. Yeah.
Oh.
Like I did most expensive. I need to do most relevant. I need to exclude 2003. I mean. But like all of LeBron's tops, look how pretty that is. And even this 1952 base design for 2005, this set is amazing. They're beautiful cards. But here's the Kobe you're talking about right here. We keep going. There's other like even this LeBron Topps Chrome, amazing image. Topps Chrome did such a better job than Panini has done since they've had that license, unfortunately. Even this image of LeBron, like they matter. They make them more expensive. I think the reference where it doesn't matter is more so rookie cards. It hardly matters. Maybe there's certain circumstances like the Judge, very rarely, or the Ohtani hitting versus pitching, but that's less relevant.
Yeah, especially like for first moment chromes. I get what I think it's more image things are definitely for the most part it'll affect non-rookies. Like and the variation market. And occasionally maybe there'll be I think Jose Bautista's best card. This one came up at our lab and chat. Yeah. The 2016 Topps Chrome where he's doing the bat flip. It looks like an SSP, but it's not. And that card and all the parallels sells for crazy money for a base card because it's like one of the most iconic moments in Blue Jay history.
But this is another example of will this card really be as sought after in the future? Like, it's cool right now in the moment, but 20 years from now, this won't be remembered as much. Maybe I'm wrong in that statement.
Probably outside of Toronto, yes. Inside Toronto, I think this card will always have some sort of.
So that raises the question, can you get in trouble buying images? Can you get in trouble buying this card? Because it's really cool right now. But like Phil said, then things happen in the future and then it's just further back memory. And now kids born in 2030, when they're 15 years old in 2045, they'll have no idea this happened or care that this happened. So that's kind of an interesting thought is, can images go down in value relative to other cards?
Yeah, I would just say in Toronto, it depends on how much people remember that. If there's images of it around the stadium, obviously they make a statue of it, which they won't because he wasn't that popular a player, certainly in the clubhouse at least. But I mean, if that imagery is all around the ballpark, I could see the memory lingering. I don't know, Phil. What do you think?
I think in baseball it helps because the buyers of these cards are, and you can't say that basketball and football are that different because like who's going to be buying Jose Bautista at this point? It's going to be a team collector. It's going to be a fan of the Blue Jays, right? So I think that in itself like gives it an edge. Another angle we haven't talked about is, so when I talked about like the things about a card that matter, I left off the serial number in rarity. So that's an important one. But when you start to look at the types of stuff that I go for, which is like a lot of Bowman, maybe some Topps Chrome stuff, if I'm evaluating a card, it's likely a serial numbered card and often an autograph and serial numbered. So with me, the image matters to the extent that it ties back to an image of a base version of that card. That's also somewhat important or iconic or well-known. So in some ways, it's almost like just as important for that image to be recognizable than it is for it to be a good image. And I know we're mixing things here. We're talking about different types of cards. So for Chris, like he doesn't think about that as much because it's not, it's an image variation. It's not going to tie back to anything. It's unique because it's like this variation. I want it to be different than all the other ones. But for me, and if you like get into like sapphire autographs, the recognizability of that image almost matters just as much as the image itself on a standalone basis. So,
yeah, just think about like Acuna has obviously his Sapphire rookie is the bat down image, and that's great. If his Sapphire rookie auto is that stupid horizontal shot of him like tracking a fly ball, if they use the bat down image on that card, that would be at least what do you think, like 3x what it goes for as is?
How much does it go for? It probably goes for what, $2,500 in the 10. That's where it was before. He could be lower now.
Yeah, it's probably a little more.
Great example. Yeah.
Yes, that would be his best card.
Yeah.
Especially since there's only about, what, 30 to 50 of them made?
Yeah,
probably
50, I think. Yeah, 50, 60, something like that.
I would argue that'd be his best card.
Yeah.
Easily past his Topps Chrome. We talk about, okay, so imagery. Topps in 2018 decided images didn't matter across every player.
They really did, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Acuna, his Topps update, his Topps Chrome update are different. His Topps Chrome autograph are different. They messed everything up. They literally messed everything up and made it confusing. They did the same thing with Garrett Cole, same thing with Nolan Arenado when they're 2013 rookies. They did the same thing with Shohei Ohtani. So they didn't believe it mattered until recently. Now they're leaning into it. So maybe they're starting to see the lights themselves a little bit. So, yeah. Okay. Well, last thing, we're going to have a Patreon shout out in a moment. Chris will pull that up momentarily. But this week on Patreon, we're talking about Nick Kurtz versus Junior Caminero, which one we think is the better long-term investment, and kind of breaking down their card values and if you should buy their cards. If you're interested in our Patreon, it's $10 a month. We appreciate the support. It helps us to continue to make these videos and justify it to our spouses. But we also have right now 2 different community tabs. One is for pickups and one is for cards you're looking to purchase. And Chris wanted to highlight one of these pickups.
Yeah. So as someone who was ripping packs in the early 1990s, there was Upper Deck started doing autographs. So I think you guys have now all seen the Mickey Mantle, Ken Griffey card. I think Reggie Jackson might have been the first one. There's a Ted Williams. There's like a Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan. Those became popular. And we never saw them like back in the day. You see them at shows now, and they're really cool to see. But in 1993, Pinnacle used Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember seeing these like advertised on the boxes. And I never, ever, ever saw the card. And honestly, completely forgot that they ever existed. Until about this week, when a Patreon member who goes by Celeste's dad, big Philadelphia Phillies fan, and his daughter Celeste is awesome. She watches us on Blabbing About Slabbing. My wife says she's our biggest fan, and sadly, she's probably right. But he actually has 2 of these Joe DiMaggio cards. I cannot imagine being a kid in 1993 and pulling a Pinnacle Joe DiMaggio autograph out of a pack. But I also can't believe I totally forgot that these cards ever existed. And the fact that he's got 2 is incredible. So yeah, absolutely. Our Patreon pickup of the week, Celeste dad for these 2 DiMaggios. Do you guys, Phil? I mean, I know I'm a little bit older than you, but do you remember these cards at all?
No, I remember 92 Topps having was it a Mickey Mantle autograph chase? Or maybe Lou Gehrig, probably Mantle. But no, I don't remember these.
Yeah, these are awesome. They're even like the shape is a little bit different too.
Good choice, Chris. Well, thanks for watching, Celeste. Thanks for posting and being a Patreon member. We appreciate you all. And if you want that extra content, check it out. And we'll see you in the next video.